Blue Frontier is essentially we're dedicated to building the constituency that we need to turn the tide to protect and restore our public seas. And what we do is we've tried to identify what we call the seaweed marine grassroots groups around the nation that are working on solutions and bring them together along with other constituencies, with marine labor, surfers, sailors, scientists, fishermen, anybody who's concerned with the declining state of the oceans and how to turn things around. Essentially, we figure that we all get so much from the ocean in terms of, recreation, transportation, trade, energy, protein, just that sense of awe and wonder when you get in the waves that we ought to be willing to give something back. And we know what the problems are. We know even what the solutions are. It's creating the political will and building the movement, the blue movement, to turn things. So we say green's the new blue. 50 Ways to Save the Ocean. We wrote this book. I wrote it. Jim Toomey does Sherman's Lagoon illustrated it. It's an introduction by Philippe Cousteau, third generation in the family business of saving the seas. Wrote it because people, when I talk about the cascading disasters facing our ocean of, industrial overfishing, pollution, climate change, loss of habitat, people sometimes come up and say, well, it's great what you're doing, but, I've got a life, I've got a job, a family, I'm double course load in school. Besides, what can I do to, impact things like climate change or the collapse of marine wildlife? And the answer is everything we do every day has an impact on the seas around us. It's being conscious of that impact and making the right choices. And when you make the right choices in terms of your choices of food or energy use or transportation, turns out you're also making the right choices for yourself, for your health, your pocketbook, your sense of well-being. So we talk about the things you can do as a diver, as a boater, but also how your energy choices affect the seas, or how, eating more organic and vegetarian food can actually reduce the impacts of runoff pollution on the ocean. The number one thing we say to do is go to the beach, because you tend to protect the things that you love. And people who get engaged with the waters want to do the right thing to make sure that they're both healthy and abundant. I spent most of my career in this kind of schizophrenic state as a reporter and PI, where I'd go off to cover wars and epidemics, or as a private investigator do homicide and drug cases, in order to be able to come home to the beach where I go body surfing and diving. And eventually I was able to, as an investigative reporter, to use those skills to write my first ocean book, Blue Frontier, and in the spirit of recycling, then turn that into an organization, thinking that I really want to give something back and stay engaged. After writing this first of my ocean books about, how waste, fraud, and abuse were undermining the environmental health of our oceans, I thought I could do more than just educate. I could help organize the people I met who do have solutions and bring them into a more effective movement, as I say, a seaweed or marine grassroots movement to change policy, both on paper but more importantly in the water. Well, I hope what people take away from this conference, the California World Oceans Conference, is that even in the most populous state in the nation, there's tremendous protection. You've got a tremendous amount of wilderness and protection, and that's because the people of California have a sense of entitlement. They understand that the beach and the ocean belongs to all of us. And I think the important message is that they are our public seas. They belong to all of us. They're a treasure that we all have to take some responsibility for maintaining, both for ourselves and future generations. And I think that California can be a model for how we live well with the sea.